She explores how the emergence of the Ahmadiyya movement, founded by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in the late 19th century, sparked intense debates over religious orthodoxy and identity. The Ahmadis, who considered themselves Muslims, faced widespread opposition from mainstream Muslim groups who accused them of heresy, particularly because of their beliefs regarding the finality of prophethood. The Ahrar started an agitation against the Hindu principal of McLagan Engineering College in Lahore for his allegedly disparaging remarks against the Prophet of Islam. In a series of articles written during and after the summer of 1935, Iqbal deployed theological and political arguments to justify expelling the Ahmadis from the Muslim community. Iqbal sneered at the Ahmadi notion of Mirza Ghulam being a Buruzi prophet. The only safe option, he believed, was to place the Ahmadis outside the pale of Islam. If Jinnah had been a Punjabi, he might conceivably have taken a different position. In 1974, Pakistan officially excommunicated Ahmadis through a constitutional amendment, was the intensification of regional, linguistic, and sectarian tensions, attributable in large part to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's controversial decision to declare the Ahmadis a religious minority, nationalism, the nation-state, and the secular versus communal dichotomy. In Self and Sovereignty, Dr. Ayesha Jalal addresses the Ahmadi issue as a significant point of contention within the Muslim community in South Asia. She explores how the emergence of the Ahmadiyya movement, founded by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in the late 19th century, sparked intense debates over religious orthodoxy and identity. The Ahmadis, who considered themselves Muslims, faced widespread opposition from mainstream Muslim groups who accused them of heresy, particularly because of their beliefs regarding the finality of prophethood. Dr. Jalal highlights how the controversy over the Ahmadiyya movement further complicated the already fraught dynamics of Muslim identity in the subcontinent as it intersected with broader issues of religious authority, community boundaries, and political representation. The Ahmadi issue thus not only deepened internal divisions amongst Muslims, but also had implications for their collective positioning within the broader colonial and post-colonial context. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the founder of the Ahmadiyya community, was a scion of a family that traced its origins to a Mughal clan from Samarkand. He had come onto the stage as a defender of Islam against the onslaught of Christian missionaries and the activities of Hindu pamphleteers against Muslims and Prophet Muhammad. For his uncanny knack of predicting the demise of his key enemies such as Lekh Ram, Ghulam Ahmad incurred the wrath of Punjabi Hindus. In 1876, he announced that he had received revelation. Although he created quite the commotion with his claims, his followers were by and large absorbed into the community of Islam. Until his death in 1908, Ghulam Ahmad continued to propagate his faith with remarkably little opposition from Orthodox Muslims. As late as 1928, officials found not a single incident of Ahmadis being molested or denied the use of mosques. An allegation of complicity with the British arose when in 1895 Mirza Ghulam Ahmad published a pamphlet disavowing armed jihad. At the time, this was the stance of most individuals, whatever their community or religious affiliation. 1928 is also significant because it coincides with the formation of the Majlis-e-Ahrar-e-Islam, a group of nationalist pro-Congress and Khilafatist ulema such as Ataullah Shah Bukhari, who riled against Ahmadis. Until the Ahrars kicked up a storm over Ahmadi activities in Kashmir, the sect continued to be accommodated within the broader community of Muslims in Punjab. To the chagrin of the Ahrars, Muhammad Iqbal, the poet-philosopher, had recommended the appointment of Mirza Bahiruddin Mahmud, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's son and the second leader of the Ahmadiyya community, as the president of the All India Kashmir Committee. The fact of an Ahmadi at the helm was an excuse to damn the All India Kashmir Committee as a British plant. With their hold on Kashmir slipping, the Majlis-e-Ahrar started an agitation against the Hindu principal of McLagan Engineering College in Lahore for his allegedly disparaging remarks against the Prophet of Islam. But alongside that, Bukhari made a vicious speech against Bashiruddin Mahmud in Sialkot, which led to his Ahrar underlings to attack Ahmadi volunteers headed for Kashmir. Posturing as defenders of Islam against Ahmadis and Hindus, so ironic given the Congress's support, was an Ahrar specialty. Unable to resolve this internal dilemma, the Ahrars turned to flushing out those they disapproved of in the Muslim community. Fazl Hussain was the first to come under attack for recommending a learned and capable Ahmadi, Zafrullah Khan, as his temporary replacement on the Viceroy's Executive Council. Sections of the Punjab press, led by zamindars and others in the Ahrar mold, accused the unionist leader for patronizing Ahmadi infidels over true Muslims like Iqbal. This was the opportunity that the Ahrar were looking to win over Iqbal to their cause. Prior to 1935, Iqbal considered Ahmadis a sect within Islam and once described Mirza Ghulam Ahmad as probably the profoundest theologian among modern Indian Mohammedans. In 1911, he declared the Ahmadis to be the perfect exemplars of the Islamic Sunnah. Iqbal even sent his eldest son, Aftab, to Qadian to acquire religious training. Iqbal's paternal uncle and a cousin to whom he was especially close were fervent Ahmadis. An indication that his links with Ahmadis were not coincidental was the favorable opinion held of the sect's role in propagating Islam to non-Muslims. Despite strident Ahrar propaganda that Ahmadis were using the All India Kashmir Committee to multiply their numbers in Kashmir, Iqbal did not withdraw support for Bashiruddin. What then were the reasons for Iqbal's sudden change of heart? Ahmadi writers have charged the Ahrars of playing the Congress's game in the Punjab and Kashmir, disrupting Muslim unity and bamboozling an otherwise well-meaning Iqbal. They also stress Iqbal's personal disappointment at being overlooked in favor of Zafrullah Khan as Fazle Hussein's replacement on the Viceroy's Executive Council. What cannot be denied is that Iqbal's attacks on Ahmadis acquired an uncharacteristic stridency once Zafrullah formally took his seat on the Viceroy's Council. Iqbal's own view is instructive. In a series of articles written during and after the summer of 1935, Iqbal deployed theological and political arguments to justify expelling the Ahmadis from the Muslim community. Iqbal sneered at the Ahmadi notion of Mirza Ghulam being a Buruzi prophet. The only safe option, he believed, was to place the Ahmadis outside the pale of Islam. If this happened, Muslims would tolerate Ahmadis like any other religious community and not work to eradicate them. Jinnah, in contrast, maintained an inclusive approach toward the Ahmadis, recognizing their contributions and support for the Muslim League and the Pakistan movement. The Ahmadis, under the leadership of figures like Sir Zafrullah Khan, played a significant role in advocating for Muslim interests and the creation of Pakistan. Zafrullah Khan, in particular, was a prominent member of the Muslim League and later served as Pakistan's first foreign minister. Majlis-e-Ahrar had joined the Muslim League's parliamentary board in Punjab, but in 1936, the Ahrars officially broke with the League's parliamentary board. The ostensible reasons was their refusal to pay the stipulated sum of money to cover election expenses. But the more controversial demand, and one that Jinnah wisely resisted, was that provincial assembly candidates taking the Muslim League oath should vow to expel the Ahmadis from the Muslim community. A courageous stand to be taken, it reflects Jinnah's understanding of constitutional law and the imperatives of citizenship in a modern state. Exclusion in any case was not going to help Muslims keep pace with far less when the numbers came. Moreover, setting the standards of inclusion in a community that was utterly disjointed in the legal and political sense amounted to suicide. If Jinnah had been a Punjabi, he might conceivably have taken a different position. That he was not made all the difference. He saw no reason to strip Ahmadis of their Muslim identity simply on account of a doctrinal dispute. At Jinnah's behest, the All India League resisted demands to oust the Ahmadis from the Muslim community. By adopting the logic of inclusion and not exclusion, Jinnah gave breadth to the League's notion of citizenship rights, which some of his regional associates seemed set on restricting to suit their own narrow political purposes. In November 1944, the Ahrars offered to support the League against the Unionists, provided it denounced the Mirzais, the Ahmadis. In July, the All India Muslim League, at Jinnah's insistence, had scuttled an attempt by Maulana Abdul Hamid Badayuni to debar Ahmadis from membership in the organization. If not for the Quaid-e-Azam's clear understanding of the political and constitutional implications, the Ahmadis may well have been excommunicated from the Muslim community before the dawn of independence. No small victory for Ahmadis, it was vital for a relatively balanced discourse of identity, sovereignty, and citizenship during the twilight hours of the British Raj in India. In 1974, Pakistan officially excommunicated Ahmadis through a constitutional amendment, thereby jettisoning Jinnah's inclusive approach and adopting Iqbal's supposedly safe option. The embattled politics of Pakistan's Islamic ideology scuttled any consensus on national identity. Even as a military bureaucratic state strained its nerves to keep the Islamicists at bay, it saw the advantages of formulating policies privileging the common religious bond of an otherwise culturally distinctive and economically disparate people. The inefficacy of the Pakistani state's Islamic card is a powerful indictment of the argument that the religious factor in Muslim consciousness outweighs all other considerations. As electoral results consistently showed up the weak appeal of an exclusively Islamic ideology in politics, it was left to the military bureaucratic state to embark on the policies of Islamization in its search for legitimacy. Yet the most paradoxical legacy of Ziaul Haq was the intensification of regional, linguistic, and sectarian tensions. attributable in large part to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's controversial decision to declare the Ahmadis a religious minority, the sectarian problem in Pakistan is nonetheless a direct legacy of Zia's cultivation of the religious lobby. To end, it is important to consider Dr. Jalal's views on nationalism, the nation-state, and the secular versus communal dichotomy. Dr. Jalal also holds that discomfort with difference is a function of inclusionary nationalism and its concomitant equal citizenship, which are among the defining features of modern nation-states. But despite ample evidence on the ground, the paradox of inclusionary nationalism ending up as a narrative construction of an exclusionary majoritarian identity has rarely commanded attention from votaries of the nation-state. Dr. Jalal holds that while inclusionary nationalism professes ideals of equal citizenship and embraces diversity as a strength, the reality often reveals a paradoxical trend towards exclusionary practices. Dr. Jalal also argues that despite the professed commitment to inclusivity, modern nation-states frequently construct narratives that prioritize and elevate the identity of the majority group, marginalizing or erasing minority identities in the process. This paradox becomes evident in the experiences of minority communities within nation-states, where claims of equal citizenship and protection under the law can ring hollow in the face of systemic discrimination, political marginalization, and cultural hegemony. Dr. Jalal's analysis underscores how inclusionary rhetoric can coexist with exclusionary practices, perpetuating a hierarchy of belonging that privileges the dominant group while relegating minorities to second-class citizenship. She critiques the tendency among proponents of the nation-state to overlook and downplay these contradictions. She argues that the narrative of a unified national identity often overlooks the diverse realities and experiences within society, leading to the erasure of marginalized voices and histories. This erasure not only perpetuates inequality, but also undermines the foundational principles of equality and justice that are supposed to underpin the modern nation-state. In essence, Dr. Jalal's examination challenges us to confront the paradox of inclusionary nationalism and its tendency to reinforce exclusionary practices. By highlighting these dynamics, Dr. Jalal is calling for a more critical and nuanced understanding of nationalism, one that acknowledges and addresses the discomfort with difference that persists despite claims of inclusivity. This critique encourages us to rethink the narratives and policies that shape our societies, aiming for a more genuinely inclusive and equitable approach to citizenship and belonging.